This is Joe Biden. Back in March 2020, Joe was campaigning out of his home in Wilmington, Delaware, and was live on the air with CNN's Jake Tapper. Let's watch.
Excuse me. You know, you're supposed to cough into your elbow. I don't know, sir. I learned that actually covering your White House.
And Jake Tapper is right. In 2009, the Biden-Obama White House shared with the public things that they could do to prevent contracting the H1N1 swine flu.
Wash your hands frequently. Cover your sneezes with your sleeve, not your hands.
And this was so important that the White House recruited Sesame Street to make public service announcements about it.
Always sneeze or cough into the bend of your arm.
Like this. Achoo!
So Joe Biden, who is an adult man who should know better than to cough in his hand, when he was called out on it, had a very solid excuse.
Excuse me. You know, you're supposed to cough into your elbow. I don't know, sir.
Actually, that's true, but fortunately I'm alone in my home, but that's okay.
First of all, being alone in your home is never a good excuse to practice poor hygiene. Second, Biden saying that he was alone is probably a lie. Case in point, the man can barely read a script in front of a camera, and you expect us to believe that he set one up for an interview all by himself? Yeah, sure.
Donald Trump does pose an extra threat to this. It's not hypothetical.
81 million votes, guys. Anyway, Biden ultimately conceded to Jake Tapper and agreed that you shouldn't cough into your hand.
All right.
I agree, you're right.
This is what you call a teachable moment. And from that day on, Joe Biden never coughed into his hand again.
Excuse me.
Okay, clearly he has never coughed into his arm, ever. And that's unfortunate, because as President of the United States, coughing into your hand during a global pandemic not only sets a really bad example, but it also shows how unhygienic this creepy old man actually is. The CDC states that when it comes to preventing the spread of COVID-19, a key preventative action you can take is to regularly clean your hands. And it was important enough that Joe Biden's handlers would add bits about hand washing into his teleprompter. Let's watch.
We need everyone to wash their hands.
It matters whether you wash your hands.
We need everyone to keep washing their hands.
We still need you to wash your hands.
This is not a time to relax. We must keep washing our hands.
And it's not the time to relax. We have to keep washing our hands.
I need all Americans. I need all of you to do your part. Wash your hands. We have an obligation, patriotic obligation. Wash your hands.
But once the vaccine became widely available, Biden stopped mentioning hand washing in any of his remarks. In fact, Joe Biden hasn't used a term like wash your hands since April 6th. Did the vaccine make washing hands obsolete? Of course not. They probably stopped making him say it because it just brings unwanted attention to the fact that he keeps coughing into his hands, just like he did at a recent rally for California Governor Gavin Newsom.
We don't need politics in this battle against COVID.
For these Republican governors, it isn't about public health. Gavin will be a governor. Or
So then, after his speech, Biden, who was coughing into both of his hands during the entirety of his address, turned around and shook Governor Newsom's hand with the hand he was just coughing into. And then Biden reached out to Newsom's wife and grabbed her hand with the hand he was coughing into. And then 3 days later, totally by coincidence, 2 of Governor Newsom's 4 children tested positive for COVID. I'm not blaming anyone per se, but germs and viruses spread by unwashed hands. That's all I'm saying. And here's where it gets really stupid. According to reporting by Politico, the governor's office said that it does not appear that the children were exposed at school or at any campaign events, except he occasionally brings his children to campaign events, including here in the days before they contracted COVID. And I don't see a lot of social distancing and plexiglass barriers, do you? And do you think that they did contact tracing with all of the people who attended these events? Of course not. So how can the governor's office make a statement claiming that it doesn't appear that it was from two of the most likely ways they could have been exposed to it? It defies logic. But then again, we are dealing with California Democrats, so I guess I just answered my own question. Now let's get back to Biden's coughing. On September 16th, 3 days after the Gavin Newsom rally, Biden gave an address on the economy, and it didn't go great.
The data, and what amounts COVID. So let me ask you this. And the choice is this that I have proposed in our economy. That's not right.
So later that day, NBC's Kelly O'Donnell asked Biden's press secretary Jen Psaki about Biden's history of repeatedly coughing during speeches.
Many of us were in the East Room watching the president. We've seen him on many occasions where he has a repeated cough. What is the situation with that cough, and is that a concern?
It's not a concern. We have a doctor who travels with him, obviously, who checks in if it is ever warranted, and certainly that continues to be the case, as it has been since the beginning of his presidency.
Except it is a concern, because here's the thing. It happens a lot. And quite frankly, the American people have the right to know why our septuagenarian president is prone to coughing fits. Now, if this was President Donald Trump, this would be headline news. For example, CNN did entire segments about Trump coughing.
Because absentee ballots, excuse me.
What do you hear there, Sanjay?
Well, he sounds congested still, and yeah, I hadn't heard that before. He sounds sick, and he's 74 years old.
So here we know why Trump was coughing. He was recovering from the coronavirus. Not a big mystery, right? But when it comes to a coughing 78-year-old Democrat in the White House, who also sounds pretty sick, no journalistic curiosity whatsoever. I know you're shocked. But occasionally, reporters from mainstream news outlets like Kelly O'Donnell will ask tough but fair questions.
Is there an explanation for why he coughs so frequently in situations like that? I'm sure you saw it.
I did. I don't think it's an issue of concern. I think there are a range of reasons why we may need to clear our throat or we may have a little light cold, but it's not an area where we have a medical concern.
So if there's not a concern, then tell us the explanation behind it. Is it acid reflux? Allergies? Post-nasal drip? Put our minds at ease and tell us, why can't Orange Woman Bad answer a fucking question? So much for being the most transparent administration ever. But whatever, that's it for now, I'm done. Thanks for watching, sharing, and slamming that like button. A special thanks to Poofy for her help with this week's script. And as always, be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel, and I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.